So let's start with arrays. So array is a collection of homogeneous or same types of elements. Let's say if you have created an array for integer, so only integer elements we can assign to that array. We cannot assign the string value to that array. And elements in an array are accessible by index number, which starts from 0 and goes to n minus 1, where n is the size of array. Let's say we have an integer array. You can see in the diagram, and name is ARR. So if you will see here, the size for my array is 5 here, and the value we are storing into this array starting from 0 index to index 4. So at the 0 index we have 6, at the 1 index we have 8, at the 2 index we have 4, at 3 index we have 3, and at 4 index we have 2. So you can see here the index number is starting from 0 and it goes to n minus 1, that is 4 here. And an array is stored in contiguous memory location where the lowest memory address correspond to the first element and the highest memory address correspond to the last element. If you will look into the memory allocation, suppose this array is allocated to the memory like in this diagram. You can see like the lowest memory address, let's say it is 1000. So you can see here the lowest memory address is 1000 and the higher memory address is here 1016. So here we have 5 elements. So all these 5 elements are going to be indexed at index number 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And here integer is taking 4 byte if we are going to store in a 64-bit system. So that's why for storing a single element it is taking 4 byte. Then for the next element it will start from 1004. Then next element will start from 1008. The next element will start from 1012. So in this way the memory is allocated in contiguous fashion. Now here let's talk about the types of arrays. What are the different types of arrays supported by the C#? So C# here has one-dimensional array, multi-dimensional array and jagged arrays. So in multi-dimensional arrays we have like 2D array, 3D array, like ND array. It's up to you how many dimension you want to create for an array. And in the next session we will talk about each of them one by one. In this session you will learn about one-dimensional array. So one-dimensional array has one dimension and it can be thought as a row or column. And you can see here this array size is 5. So in array index number start from 0 and if its size is 5, so it will go to 4. So for at the 0 index I am assigning here 6, at the 1 index I am assigning here 8, 2 index I am assigning here 4, then 3, for 3 index, for 2, then 4 index. And for the memory allocation it will look like this way. So memory allocation would be here in contiguous fashion. So let's say if the memory address for the 0 index element is 1000, so for the 4 index element it will be here 1016. So it will be increased by 4 because we are considering here 64-bit system for the memory allocation here. So lower address will represent the first element in your array and the higher address will represent the last element in your array. So let's see how we can create the array with the help of a console application. I have a console application named as array 1D because we are creating the one-dimensional array. So let's create a one-dimensional array. So I'm just storing the marks of a student. So integer marks I'm using here, let's say equal to new integer mark. Let's say we have the 5 subjects. In the 5 subjects we are assigning the marks here. So for the first subject I'm assigning here, let's say 60. Same way I can use for second, third, fourth and fifth, but we have to change the index number like 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I assign the value, let's say 70. Let's say we have 60, 68 and we have like 80. So in this way we have initialized the value for this array. Now here I can console its value here, console dot write line. So I'm just using here write. So I'm just showing the message like elements of array. So here I'm just showing the elements in the array. Now just use here for statement. I started with the marks dot array length, like how many elements we have in array. So I'm just using here console dot write, then show the number of elements in the array. For the spacing I'm using here tab and then tab plus use here I directly. Now it will show the elements in our array. Now let's run the application. You can see it is showing the elements in our array. Let's say, oh, I'm just using the index number. I have not shown the marks. So this is for index number here. If you want to display the marks, so just use here marks and pass the index number. Now it will display the marks. You can see we have 60, 70, 66, 68 and 80. And here instead of initializing all these elements one by one, we can initialize at the time of declaration as well. So just use curly braces and then pass the value. Let's say 60, 70, 66, 68 and 80. So in one go we have initialized the value at 0 index, 1 index, 2 index, 3rd index and the 4th index, and we will get the same output. So we are getting the same output here. It's up to you whether you are initializing it at the time of declaration. Either you can initialize it later on as well. So this is the way to create the single dimensional array. Same way you can create an array for string as well. So just change the data type here from integer to string, and here in place of number just pass the string. And the same way using the for loop you can display the string. In this session you will learn about multi-dimensional array. So multi-dimensional array, also known as rectangular array, which has more than one dimension. In the last example we have created an array using one dimension, but in the multi-dimensional array we might have more than one dimension. Let's say we might have x dimension, y dimension, z dimension, like u dimension. It's up to you how many dimension you want to create. So in the diagram you can see here we have a two-dimensional array. So here you can think like we have x dimension, we have the y dimension, we have the three-dimensional array. So you can think like we have the x dimension, we have y dimension, we have the z dimension. So we can create here 2D array, 3D array, 4D array. So these are the example of the multi-dimensional array. Now let's understand the multi-dimensional array with the help of example. So here in my Visual Studio I have created a console application for 2D array. So in this example we are going to create a 2D array. So let's create an array. So I have an array of integer type. For 2D array I'm just using here comma here because we are going to define two dimension. So before the comma one dimension will be defined, and after the comma then another dimension you have to define. So let's say we are just going to create a matrix. So I'm just using a new integer and we are going to create a matrix of 2 by 3. So here just like y dimensional array we can initialize this matrix one by one. So what I can do here, I can use here, let's say matrix. So array index always start from 0. So if you will see here, let's think we have x equal to 2 and y equal to 3. That will be from x equal to 0 to 1 and y equal to from 0 to 2. That will be here, let's say 0 comma 1. Then assign the value. I'm assigning here, let's say value as 10. Now here it will be a 0 0 because y also will start from 0. Then x equal to 0, y equal to 1. Then it is here 20. Then x equal to 0, y equal to, it is here 30. Because in case of y we have 3. That's why it is starting from 0 to 2. But in case of x we have only 2. So it will start from 0 to 1. Same way just define here. This time we have to change the value of x from 0 to 1. Then assign the value here, let's say 40, 50 and 60. This is a way to initialize a two-dimensional array. Now here I can show the element here like console.write, and I am using here, let's say elements in a matrix. Now elements in a matrix we have to read with the help of a for loop, and this time we have to use for loop. One loop for the row and one loop for the column here. So here to get the dimension we can use here matrix dot get length. So in the get length method you have to pass the dimension, and here dimension will start from 0 as the array index number is starting from 0. So for it is a two-dimension array. So first dimension will be represented by the 0 and the second dimension will be represented by 1 here. So here I can write a message like console.write. Then here we want to show the number of elements within a row. So let's say I'm using here row number. For number I'm just using here hash. So for number 0, like row 1 elements. So row 1 elements we are showing here. So for showing the row 1 element, so row number I'm not using here. So row number will come in I. So here it is starting from 0. So for displaying I'm adding here +1 as well, so that it will start the row number as 1. I like row number as 2. Now use here one more inner loop for getting the value of column. So just use here matrix, then get length, and here pass the second dimension, that is 1 here. Then again use here console dot write, and here just show the value. So the value I'm using is 0. Then it will be here matrix. So whatever the value we have as per the row number and the column. So row number we are getting here I, and the column number we are getting here Z. And here just for putting the space between two elements I'm using here tab. That's it. So now let's see how it is displaying the elements in each and every row here. But make sure we are using here shell as well, so that it will always start from the new line. So you can see here in the row 1 we have the elements 10, 20, 30, then 40, 50, 60. And the same you can see in the initialization value we have the same value. So for the row 1 we have 10, 20, 30. For the row 2 we have here 40, 50, 60. Perfect, we are getting the value here. And here instead of initializing the value separately, I can initialize all the values in one go as well. So here using the curly braces I can initialize the value. So we have to define two curly braces here for the two rows. So just use here 10, 20, 30, then use here 40, 50, then 60. So this is a way to define a 2D array at the time of declaration. Now let's run the program. We will get the same output again. You can see I'm getting here row 1 elements at 10, 20, 30, row 2 elements at 40, 50, 60. It's perfect. There is no issue. So this is the example of 2D array. Same way we can create a 3D array as well. So just do one thing, just close this solution, and I'll create one more application with the name array 3D. So I'm just creating a 3D array console application, and here I'm just using here console dot lead key to prevent the closing of console window. And here in 3D array, let's say I'm just define again integer array this way, and this time we have to use 2 comma, because after each comma we are defining a dimension, the new integer, and here I'm just using here 2, then we have here again 2, we have here again 3, this way. And now here we can initialize the value. So let's see, I'm using here, let's say, okay, that's 2 is fine here. Now just use here, just initialize the value here array. So 0, 0, 0. Just assign the value here. Let's say I'm assigning here 10. And then first we are using for column, it is here 1. So it is here, let's say 20. Then use here for 3. So again do the same thing here. It will be here, let's say. So I'm just using here 1. So let's see how we can create a 3D array here. So just do one thing, I'm defining an array and just define the dimension here. Let's say we are using here 3 dimension. So I'm using a 2 comma here. Then use a new integer. Then define the dimension. So we are using here 3 dimension here. So you can think here, let's say x equal to 2. You can think like y equal to 2. You can think like z equal to 2 here. Now just initialize the value. So let's start with 0, x equal to 0, y equal to 0, and z equal to 0. Now we are assigning the value. Let's say I'm assigning a value as 10. Now here I'm just increasing the value of z equal to 1. It is here, let's say 20. That's perfect. Now here just increase the value of y. So y here, let's say it is 1 for 0, and it is here also 1 for 0. So it is here, okay, it's so now what I can do here, I can define here, let's say 30 and then 40. So then first time we are using here x equal to 0, y equal to 0, then 0 z. For y equal to 0, z equal to 1. For y equal to 1, z equal to 0. For y equal to 1, z equal to 1 here. Same way we have to repeat the things again. This time we will use here, we will change the value of x. So here it will be here, let's say, okay, just do one thing, just same way, just define the value for x as well. So this time it will be here x equal to 1. So in this way we have initialized the value. So just change the number here, let's say 50, 60, 70 and 80. Perfect. Now I just read the value of this 3-dimension array. So first show the message like console dot write, and I'm using here array elements, and in array elements I'm just using here new line, and this time we have to use here 3 loop. In the 2-dimension array, if you remember, we use 2 loops. In the 3-dimension we use 3 loop for getting the value. And now here just use the get length method to find out the length for a dimension, then pass the dimension number as 0 because it is going to start from 0. Then use here one more loop here, and here just use j an array dot get length, pass the dimension as 1 for y. Same way just define here one more low for third dimension. So it will start from k. So k and dimension we have to pass here this time 2 because this is 3-dimensional array. Then here also k. And here just write a message like console dot write. I'm just making it to the new line here. And here we can write a console write for displaying the elements in the array. So console.write, then use a 0, and for putting the space I'm using here tab. Now here in the array I can pass the value of I, j, k. It will show the value here. Simple. Let's see how many elements we have in the array here. So you can see we are getting here 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. So all the elements we are getting here, if you will check here, the same elements we have mentioned here. So it is here 3-dimensional array, but as an output we are defining here as a 2-dimension because 3-dimension not possible to show in the console window. But if you will see in your PPT, you can see this is the example of the 3-dimension. You can see we have the 3-dimension here. So this is here x, this is here y, and this is here let's say z. So this is the 3-dimensional array we have created with the example. Even we can also initialize the value to this 3-dimension array at the time of declaration. So in place of putting the values here using the curly braces, we can also define the things. So I can define here, let's say 10, 20, then I can define here let's say 30, 40. Now just wrap this one within a one curly braces, this one, and same we will define here as well. So it will be here let's say 50, 60, then we have 70 and we have 80. So we are using here, we have the 2 rows. So you can see we have a 2 rows like 1 and second. Then we have a 2 column. You can see here in each every we have 2 columns here, 2, 2, 2, 2. Then you can see we have here z equal to is also 2 here. So here z is also we have 2. So you can see in the z, this is the 1 element and this is the 2 element. So this is the way to use the 3-dimension array. Let's see. Now in the application you will see the output, the same output we will get here. So we have done with the 3-dimensional array. In this session you will learn about array class in C#. So array class is an abstract class defined in system namespace, and it acts as a base class for all arrays in C# and provides functionality for creating, manipulating, searching and sorting an array. So the various functionalities are provided by the array class available in the C#. Even it provides us some useful methods like create instance, copy, index of, get value and the set value. And even we can also sort an array using the sort method. Even it provides us properties like long length and the get long length for manipulating an array. So let's understand the array class and let's see how we can use array class various methods with an array. So again I have a console application. Let me define as a 1D array I'm defining here. So I'm defining here a 1D array. Let's say new integer. I'm assigning some value. Let's say I'm putting here let's say 5, 2, let's say 12, we have let's say 1. So this is my array. Let's say this array you want to sort. So using the array class I can sort this array. So just use a array dot sort, then pass the array which you want to sort. Now here using the for loop I can display all the elements in this array to verify whether these are short or not. So what I can do here, I can use a console dot write line, then use here array elements this way. And for showing the array element just use a console dot write and show the array element using the curly braces 0, and this time I'm putting here a space. I'm not putting here /t because /t put more spaces between 2 elements. So I'm putting here only 2 spaces so that it will look separated. So array, then pass the index number. So it will show us all the elements in sorting. So sorted array elements. So as per the sorted elements, it should show us 1, 2, 5 and 12. So you can see here we are getting the sorted array elements as 1, 2, 5 and 12 because explicitly we have called the method array.sort. If you will not call this sort method, we will get the array value as it is like 5, 2, 12 and 1. This is not the sorted array. This is the unsorted array, you can say. So we can use the sort method for sorting the elements of an array. Same way I can use the array class index of method to find out the index number for an element. Let's say you want to find out the index number for an element, so I can use here, let's say integer, then index number I want to find out, then use here array class index of method, pass the array and pass the element which index number you want to get. So it is showing the index number for 12. So just print it like console dot write. I'm just showing the index number for my element, index number, index of let's say 12 is, I'm just showing here, let's say 0 comma index. It will show the index number for 12. So what is the index number? It is here 2. For 5 it is okay. Here we have done the sorting as well. So when you will do the sorting of this array, so index number will change. So just do one thing for removing the confusion. I'm just commenting the above lines so that there is no confusion to guess the index number. So here I can guess the index number for 12. It is here 0 1 2. It should show us 2. You can see here the index number 12 is 2 here. Same way we can use here copy method to copy the value of array 1 to array 2. So I'm defining here one more array. Let's say I'm defining here like new array, and in this new array, let's say I want to copy the value of array. So I'm just using here new integer, and I know here we have 4 elements, so I'm just using here size as 4. Now using the array class I can copy the value of array into new array. So just specify the source array is array, then destination array is new array. So destination array is new array. Now here is specify the length as well, like how many elements you want to copy. So I want to copy all the elements, so just use here array dot length. So like what are the elements we have in the array I want to copy here. Same way using the for loop I can display all the copied elements in my new array. So just use here new array everywhere in place of array. So it will show us the new element in my array, the copied element in new array. You can see here 5 2 12 1. So these are the copied element, and in place of using this syntax you can use here get value method as well of this array class. So we have a method get value of the array class, and the get value method you can see we have to pass the index number. So index number we can pass using I. So this is also give us the element as a particular index. So this time we are using the array class get value method for fetching the element at a specified index. So you can see here we are getting the elements here 5 2 12 and 1. So these are the elements we are getting now. So this is about the array class, and I have shown you the example like how we can use the array class various methods to manipulate the array in C#. In this session you will learn about jagged array. So jagged array is a special type of array whose elements are arrays in itself. So jagged array is a new types of array in C#. It is not available in C++ and in other languages. So you can see in the diagram you can see like if we have defined an array, let's say we have the jagged array having the size as 4. So here the 0 index can have an array having the 6 element, 1 index can have an array having the 3 elements, the second index can have the array of the 5 elements, then the 3 index can have the array of 4 elements. So jagged array means it is an array of arrays. So the elements of a jagged array can be of different dimensions and size. It's not the case like every element in the jagged array should be of same dimension and should be of the same size. No, it can be of different dimension. So that's why the jagged array is also called as an array of arrays. Now let's understand the jagged array with the help of an example. So I have a console application. I'm defining a jagged array. So define, let's say my jagged array name is J array, and here it is mandatory to define the element, the size of the first array in the jagged array, let's say. So we will have 2 elements in the jagged array. So in the first element I can define like how many, like what the array I'm going to initialize to this first element. So I can define here again new integer. Let's say I want to assign a single dimensional array having the 2 elements. Same way for the first element, I want to assign a single dimensional array having the 3 elements. I'm using a simple example so that you can understand the things. But here you can assign a multi-dimensional array as well to the element of this first, to this second element in this jagged array. Now let's see how we can assign the value. So for the first element, we have a single dimensional array having the 2 elements. I'm just using here 0, 0, then assign the value here as 10, and it is having the 2 elements, so it will start from 0 to 1. Perfect. Now here the second element having the 3 elements. So the second element will start from 1 as index number, and it will go to the 3, let's say, sorry, 2, because it is having the size as 3. So I'm assigning the value as 30, 40 and 50. Now just show the output here, console.write line, and here just use array elements. Now here I'm using here for loop. The for loop just use a j array, then pass the dimension and passing here 0. Now here just use one more loop, and here in this one more loop it will start from, let's say, j, and here just use a j array, then get length, and get length will be here 0. But here we have to define it based upon the element, because jagged array is an array of element. So here I is here, let's say 0 and 1. So based upon the 0 and 1 we have to find out the length, because the element at the 0 index we have a single dimensional array having the 2 elements, but the array at the 1 index having the 3 elements. So that's why we have to pass here I. Don't pass here only 0. Now here we can show the element here using console.write, and here just use 0 space I'm using here, then use here j array, then specify the I index and j index for showing the value, and here just put here a console.write a new line I'm using here. So now it will show us all the elements in this jagged array. So if you will see here, it is having 2 elements 0 and 1, and each element has a different size of array. First element is having the 2 size array, second element having the 3 size array. Let's see how we are getting the output. So you can see we are getting the elements here, like first element is having the array of 2 elements, second element is having the array with 3 elements. So this is the example to understand the jagged array. Thank you.